This is DJ Fasmwa. This is very exciting for me. This is a new project we're going to add to Prescription Radio, the YouTube prescription, the Afterthoughts session. Right? So basically, it's about anything that happens in Caribbean music, whether here in Australia, whether in Europe, whether in Africa, Asia, the United States, the Caribbean. Anyway, this is a segment that I want to add on to the radio show. The radio show is more for me DJing and also short little segments about stuff happening in and around Sydney. For example, like every second Saturday, DJ Fasmwa and myself at Jamtown in Manly, 32 Belgrave Street, Manly. You can come there and get some food. It's a Jamaican restaurant called Jamtown. They have a delicious Jamaican food. They have nice drinks, and it's just a fun atmosphere. People dance, people eat, and so forth. So that's pretty cool. The other things on the radio shows are people's songs get launched, people's products get promoted, and we also talk about other, like I said, other small segments, Caribbean segments, like carnivals happening in, for example, Cayman Islands, for example, Atlanta, for example, Caribana, for example, Crop Over, and so forth. Things that got to do with Caribbean music and Caribbean culture. There's another event that I do, which is once a month. It's called Prescription. It's the last Friday of the month. That's when we try to consistently have it. It's picking up. We play soca. We're probably the only people in Sydney that play Caribbean style soca. So a lot of soca, new tracks, old tracks. We try to get people familiarized with some of the artists, some of the songs that they produce, and some of the new music, some of the new trends coming out of the Caribbean, basically. We also do dancehall and reggae. We don't put one above another, but we've looked around the market and we thought, do you know what? Sydney has a lot of reggae dancehall shows, and also it has a lot of reggae and dancehall DJs. Let's differentiate and let's use what we have in the Caribbean, which is soca, and add that to the equation. So we do all three genres, but the focus is on soca. So that's really it. But this particular show is going to be dedicated to things that happen that we generally don't get a chance to talk about, right? So it's just too long to discuss. We don't have enough of a knowledge base potentially here in Sydney and so forth. So recently, Winford Williams of On Stage had Bunji Garlin and Kes on his On-Stage show on YouTube. The reason why I want to discuss Winford Williams' show this week is because they discussed soca music, they discussed carnival, and basically the things that they said were pretty spot on, and I wanted to reiterate that, and I wanted to add my 2 cents in. And I actually want to hear what you guys think about it. Like, if you guys can go in the comment section and tell me what your thoughts are. So if you guys could go in the comment section and tell me what your thoughts are, that would be amazing. There was the statement that Winford Williams used to actually engage with both sets of interviews was that the artist Gypsy, which is actually Lyons' uncle, had complained that carnival is dying, and the reasons were crime, exportation, and the major people that run carnivals moving abroad, right? So those are some valid reasons. I think that that's a valid point of view. I don't see that as an invalid point of view. I think that's a fair point to make, except it's got to be put into context. And what Kes and what Faye and Lyons and what Bunji did was put that into context very eloquently. And I thought that was excellent, right? So Kes said, naturally, people want to have what is ours. So by that, he means the carnival. Carnival in Trinidad and Tobago is like no other. It's definitely a must-do bucket list adventure. I would suggest to do it to anybody. Whether you don't like soca or whether you do, it's definitely an experience that is worth your while. But he said that naturally other people would want to do it. And that is true. Everywhere you go, everywhere there's groups of Caribbean people, you will find some kind of celebration that entails Caribbean parade of some sort. When I say Caribbean people, I mean in excess of like 5,000 to 10,000, because if you have less, then it's pretty hard to get that movement going and so forth. I'm pretty sure it's doable, but it's just from my experience here in Sydney, we've got a tiny community spread out all across Sydney, and the Caribbean Carnival doesn't seem to be on anyone's agenda. But he mentioned the people want to naturally do it, and the reason why is because it's so fun, and the reason why is because there's so much energy, and there's opportunity to share your culture with locals and other people here in Australia. That was pretty cool to hear Kes say that. The other thing that I mentioned was that in Trinidad, they're not actually facilitating the growth of Carnival and the growth of the Carnival tourists that come to Trinidad and Tobago for Trinidad Carnival and other carnivals like Crop Over, like Miami, like Labor Day, like Hollywood, whatever it is, whatever it may be, in Trinidad, they're not catering to the growing number of people that want to come to Trinidad for Trinidad Carnival. I know there's a small contingent of Sydney people or people from Australia that go to Trinidad each year for Carnival. It's pretty tough going to find accommodation, from my perspective, to find fet tickets, party tickets. It's a real job. It's a talent. You need to know where to go, who to go to, how to do it, what's the best time to do it, and so forth. Also, we have to work with time differences. Kes mentioned that Trinidad needs to facilitate that growth. Trinidad has facilitated the growth of Carnival, the bands, the events. However, the hospitality, in terms of places to stay, the transport to places and so forth, the infrastructure in town, and also culture. Culture was big, like i.e. How to build a mosque and so forth. Those things are not accessible for Carnival tourists, and large groups of people go to Trinidad for the fests and the parade and so forth. But there's also a segment of that Trinidad could capitalize on, and that is the cultural segment, i.e. wire bending, i.e. what I just mentioned, how to build a mosque, what goes into the preparation for Carnival, things of that nature. There's a lot of stuff that comes to the table in regards to that, and I would like to see that be more readily available to the Carnival tourist. There are Carnival tourists out there that want to go and see pan, that maybe want to beat a pan, that maybe want to figure out how to make a roti, find out what you need to make doubles, and so forth. In addition, Faye and Lyons brought up a point about Trinidad government not helping the mass, I guess, in Trinidad, or the soca music genre in Trinidad. And they used, and Bunji Garlin chimed in here with an excellent example of the steel drum, how Japan is taking it to the world, and not really Trinidadians are taking it to the world, which is interesting because the steel drum, the pan, comes from Trinidad and Tobago. It's the youngest instrument, and people running with it are Japanese, which is fine because the Japanese do an excellent job. However, Trinidad government, where are you? That's the question that was raised during that conversation, and I thought that was an interesting point, and excellent point to bring up, because that is exactly what you need. You need governments to invest, and you need the private sector to invest, right? So the private sectors are definitely adding value by your creativity, the financial side, and the infrastructure for it to work and to become a business out of Trinidad that exports to the world hasn't happened, like I think Fayan was saying in that piece. For example, you have artists in Trinidad that are outgrowing Trinidad. They used to make soca for Trinidad. Now, soca for Trinidad is basically on the way out. If you ask my opinion, I'm a DJ in Sydney. I play soca music year round here in Sydney, and I get soca music from many different places. I get them from Europe, I get them from Japan, I get them from different islands in the Caribbean, and the soca music keeps going on and on and on. In Trinidad, you find the soca music just comes when it approaches Trinidad Carnival time. Everyone releases their song for the road, for the soundtrack to Trinidad Carnival, basically, of that year. And I guess the government could help in that process by exporting what is Trinidadian, which is the soca music movement. Soca music was invented by, people say it was invented by a gentleman called Ras Shorty I, which is a gentleman from Trinidad who fused elements of the African and Indian and got a music genre called soul calypso soca, right? So he created that. That's from Trinidad, and Trinidad. So I guess what Fayan was saying is that Trinidad is they're not actually investing in that movement, that growth of that culture, and that's a shame, because really that is yours. That is Trinidadian, right? You've infected so many other islands, so many other places on this planet with that music. If you could only realize, if you could only see. And I guess it's all about vision and perspective, but that's my take on that conversation. I thought it was really interesting. That's this episode. It's not very long. These are short little segments with me, but it's just me commenting on stuff that I think needs to have additional love from me, I guess. Anyway, that was it. Follow us on YouTube if you want. Follow us on SoundCloud. Follow us on Mixcloud. We're on Bondi Beach Radio, www.bondibeachradio.com.au. Every second Saturday, we're at Manly Beach, Jamtown. Every second Saturday, every last Friday of the month, we have Prescription Nightclub, which is from 11 till 3 a.m. and we party hard. We don't stop dancing. It's a vibe. And yeah, that's really it. So keep it locked. This is DJ Fasmwa. Cool. Bye. Yeah!